Welcome, friends, to Tanked Up, the podcast about video games and beer. I'm one of your hosts, Ben. It's episode 325. I'm here with Aadil. And Lucy. We're a beer in. You get it these days. You know why. Let's open up.
The Monday episode.
Just one, exactly, yeah. Let's open up some more beers. As I mentioned in the last episode, and for those of you still joining us on the Twitch, I'm drinking Arbor this week, and I've got Space Hardware. I don't think it's a beer I've had on the podcast. I think it's a beer you've had on the podcast.
I was like, I've had it on the podcast.
But I don't think I have. It's a 6.6% New England IPA. Super heavily hopped New England IPA brewed with the QAnon, Galaxy, Mosaic, and Simcoe hops. So another New England IPA. For those of you keeping score, I had the Galazaka New England IPA from Arbor in the last episode. So we will see what the difference is with this one. A few more hops in the lovely, just striking blue can of Space Hardware. Lucy, what are you going to be drinking next?
I'm drinking, I don't know if either of you have had this, or if I have, on the podcast. It's the Cloudwater West Coast IPA, which is in most supermarkets, I'm guessing. I picked it up from Tesco. It's a 6% zesty and bitter West Coast IPA. I shall read the flavour text. This West Coast IPA features a blend of modern and classic hops for a bright and zesty flavour profile. The vibrant hop aromatics are balanced by a crisp, dry finish and restrained resinous bitterness, providing the effortless drinkability this classic style has become synonymous with. So yeah, West Coast IPA.
Nice. I've not had that. I don't think I've had any Cloudwater Tesco beers.
It was basically the only good beer in Tesco. So
that's fair.
Yeah.
Is it one that they stock all the time? Or is it kind of, again, because Cloudwater are so good at being like, hey, we've made a beer. And they're like, hey, we've made the same beer, but we've tweaked it just a little bit. This is like batch number 3 out of what we're kind of testing.
Yeah, I don't know. I think this looks like, something that would be on the shelf in most supermarkets.
Yeah.
Now, it's just that because it's like, I don't even think it has a name. I just think it's called West Coast IPA. Right. So it seems like one that, they
also
produced the mass market.
They've lent into the what's the Omnipolo beer with the whipped ice cream kind of look, that very similar look on that can out there. Trying to draw in all of the crafty people, aren't they? Nice. Aadil, what are you opening up now?
I am also having Arbor. Also, if you are interested on my take on the Space Hardware, it was episode 215 way back in June 12th, 2020. Heart of the pandemic.
Almost 2 years ago.
Yeah. But I'm having the Texas Sunday Morning.
Oh, nice. I've got that in my fridge.
The Hazy IPA, 1 full pint, 6.5%. Hazy IPA brewed with plenty of Amarillo, accompanied by Citra and Idaho 7.
What was that, Lucy?
The football is playing through my TV. I mean, my thingy. I don't know where it's coming from.
Well, I'll pour this Arbor.
There we go. We're at the Villa Park itself, isn't it? Pouring a beer, just need a dirty pie. And to be an arsehole.
It's almost like you're there.
Yeah. Dirty fella.
I will come back to this beer then. It's a little bit lighter than the Galazaka, not by much. It's just as kind of so maybe not quite as solid as a solid block of colour. It didn't pull with anywhere near as much head. Bigger nose on this one, much bigger nose. Bit more fruity. But again, getting those like salady, oniony kind of notes on there as well. It's a lot deeper than the Galazaka. It's actually quite similar in its flavour, but it just feels a touch deeper, a touch bigger. And I think something maybe in the mouthfeel is a little bit different as well. There's a little bit more of a thickness to this over the Galazaka. Something a little bit heavier, perhaps. Rather than it being kind of almost an absence of sweetness, there's this almost boozy sweetness to it. Like it's almost like you could say that this was a lot bigger than its 6.6%. You know, it's edging closer to kind of like 9 or something in terms of how that kind of sweetness has a little bit of acidity to it almost, and it's edging on that kind of boozy sort of sweetness that then leads into a kind of maybe again a bit more of a vegetable kind of bitterness rather than an earthy note leading into a bitterness. So there's little changes in this, and obviously it's a different hop profile, a Q&A Galaxy, Mosaic, and Simcoe rather than Galaxy and Azaka, which was in the previous bit. And the Q&A I think is probably doing a bit more of the lifting in terms of that bitterness, and the Mosaic and Simcoe maybe that combination to try and give me a bit more of a sweeter citrusy kind of note, which is kind of coming over maybe as a bit of like a muddled kind of tropical fruit, grapefruity, citrusy kind of push, but nothing quite being like, oh, this is this or this is this. It's kind of like stuff is happening. There's lots of little hints of flavour going on. Nothing can be picked out, and then it's like, oh, here is that like vegetal bitterness that sits with it. It's maybe not quite as bitter as the Galazaka, actually. New format, we don't necessarily go back and talk about the beers against each other, but both being Arbor and both being New England IPAs, it's interesting to see what the differences are between these. At the moment, I think I'm enjoying the Space Hardware a little bit more than the Galazaka.
Already, just on first impressions.
Yeah. And I think a lot of that is because of that slightly bigger flavour, that slightly thicker mouthfeel. Even maybe though, the flavour profile of the Galazaka is potentially a touch better, or not better, but not as muddled as what Space Hardware is giving me, potentially. But we'll see. We'll come back to this. I'll come back to it later on and drink through it through the episode. Lucy, let us know about your bit.
Quite hazy. Nice, just darker than straw colour to it. I mean, the beer on the last episode said had melon aroma. This is full on melon.
Really?
Yeah. Like, that's all I'm getting.
Okay.
Just big old melon. Why am I always saying lemon?
I used to do that all the time.
Lemon.
They're anagrams of each other, right?
Yeah. But yes, absolutely. Just like that's all I'm getting. Maybe a bit of sweetness, but slightly nail polishy, but not too much.
Okay.
It doesn't take. It's not like an off
Acetatey kind
aroma.
of.
Very sweet. Very sweet. No. Doesn't quite translate over to that over to the flavor though.
Okay.
Not as much fruit or sweetness. It's far more subtle.
You find that with supermarket beers, don't you?
You do, and you are getting a little bit of fruit, but to be honest, that more it tastes more like the esters and get from like, as I say, like nail polish. Like, I think that carries over into the taste more so than like any fruity flavors.
Okay.
As I say, I don't think it's an off flavor because it's not. It's not like, oh my god, this is like overpowering or anything like that. But yeah, there's something weird about it. Like very like bubblegum, cheap bubblegum kind of taste to it.
Mm.
Yeah, there's like just only a hint of bitterness. Like West Coast IPA, I expect a lot of bitterness at the end, whereas it feels like it's trying to go into that like territory, but then it just goes like, no, bring you back. We're too afraid to go into these uncharted waters of bitterness, even though it's a beer. It's just, yeah, it feels like a cowardly beer where it's just not doing anything very well, and it's like it just feels very nondescript and very forgettable.
Okay.
Where yeah, the thing that I'm picking up most is that like kind of off flavor, which may or may not be an off flavor. I don't know. Yeah, it's not great to be fair.
Okay.
I expected better from Cloudwater, even for a supermarket beer. Like
Mm.
they do beers well, but yeah, it's sort of got this very very overpowering nose to it. Very not sickly sweet, but very sweet. So it's like, what's going on here? And then it feels like artificial, like kind of bubblegum sweetness at the start, in lieu of where you'd have the fruit in a West Coast IPA, and then it just feels like, oh, we're straying into the bitterness, but we're not going to go there too much. So yeah, it doesn't really, align with what I expect from the style, and it's just not a great tasting beer, to be honest.
Okay.
Don't think it's well balanced. Maybe my opinions will change, but just straight off the bat, coming off a very nice beer in the previous episode, not really doing anything for me. Yeah.
Yeah, it's a bit of a shame.
Hmm.
You do expect, even with a supermarket beer, maybe a little bit more from Cloudwater. But it depends again. I know a lot of their supermarket Tesco beers were contract brewed out, weren't they, to that fucking awful Scottish brewery.
Yeah.
So who knows what happened with that kind of stuff, whether they took them back into their own control and those sorts of things.
It just doesn't taste like a Cloudwater beer. I mean, Cloudwater have a very distinctive like taste. I don't know if it's like their house yeast or whatever, but it has a very distinctive taste where it's like, usually I can be like, that's a Cloudwater beer, even with their changes like recently, and they weren't doing what they did like 5 years ago or whatever. I can still like pretty much pick them out. So this just doesn't taste like a
yeah. And if it is a yeast, if it's a yeast that they're like, in some breweries are very much like, we use this yeast, this is our yeast, and Verdant have produced a yeast that lots of people are now kind of using and stuff, but yeast is so temperamental.
Yeah.
And that it's slightly different temperatures, slightly different conditions, and it will give you something else. So even if it is a beer that's maybe being contract brewed out, and they're going, well, we're still using the same yeast, but it's travelled 400 miles and it's taken 6 hours, 7 hours to get there, and then it's sat for a while, and then it's gone into a completely different brewing kit and those kinds of things, it's gonna be different.
Just like Brewdog does to its work, it said, you better work, and then all this yeast ate up all that, all everything, and now it's only sugar left. That's why it smells sugary. That's why it tastes strange. It's like, unfortunately, it isn't like 10%, so I could have just downed it and forgot about it. But oh well.
Yeah, a shame.
Bit weird.
Yeah. Aadil, we'll come to you for the Arbor, for the Texas Sunday morning.
Yeah. So this is hazy. The last one said it was hazy, but this is much more closer to your first beer, I think.
Yeah.
Sort of a slightly more orangey straw. It's got really lovely nose. You get that Citra and that Amarillo, but also some nice biscuity notes as well on the nose. And it's like peak sweet citrus, some biscuit, maybe a touch of melon, or that might just be because Lucy kept saying melon and lemon earlier.
Le melon.
Oh. You can tell 6.5%. It's a bit sweet. It's a little thick because of the alcohol content. I can't quite. It's the bitterness that it lingers on is a citrusy bitterness, but not quite grapefruit. So more think like a bit of a bitter orange, maybe. And that biscuitiness that was on the nose there, just underneath everything, sort of buttressing everything. But it does have this nice peak, like I said, peak citrus as well. So it's slightly sour note, or not sour, tangy note, I guess. I'm struggling to come to grips with it. So the last beer I had in the previous episode had some very distinct notes that were well intertwined, but more distinct. And I think this is closer to your current beer, Ben, which you said was a little more muddied and things were a little more enmeshed. This definitely feels like that, but not in a bad way. Just in like I'm not finding distinct things. This is just a flavor that's hitting me. It's really nice. This is definitely. It's been a hot, sweltering day. It doesn't have quite as long as a finish. I'm gonna want to drink this a little quicker because it's very front loaded. It's very nice. It's not like a juice bomb, but it's quite juicy. I think that's where that sweetness and then is really front loaded, and so because the finish isn't as long as well, I'm gonna reach for it again and again, which isn't a problem. Just because I want to have that hit of slightly fruity, citrusy beer, and again, that biscuitiness is starting to, unless I'm looking for it, it's just sort of keeping things together, kind of like the Lactose was doing in the last episode's beer, just sort of stitching things together, but playing backseat. Yeah, that's really good.
Nice. I will say, I think Texas Sunday Morning is one of my favorite Arbor beers.
It's very good, yeah. It's perfect.
On a Texas Sunday morning, can you just imagine? Just eat brisket for the rest of the day. drink Arbor beers and eat brisket. That's what I
would. I mean, depending on how you feel, I wouldn't like to be a pregnant woman in Texas at the moment, but
I wouldn't like to be a black
I wouldn't want to be
pregnant
anyone.
woman
Yeah, I wouldn't want to be anyone in Texas, to be fair. Yeah, let's not jump into that one too much, but fuck America. What the fuck are they doing?
Yeah, I mean, I think I'm just going to leave it at that, short and sweet. It's very good. Yeah, I guess that's it. Yeah, I was going to go back on, but what I'm liking now is after having a bit of a break, there is that lingering bitterness, which means there's another taste I was kind of missing because I was chasing a bit after that sort of more juicy, sweet foretaste. But it's just yeah, it's very good. Let's all maybe say some stuff at the end of the episode, but I think you should just try it for yourself.
Nice. Good. Let's jump then into gaming chat for a little. We don't have a topic as such for this episode, but we concentrate on what Lucy's been playing in the last episode. So Aadil and I are going to jump in a little bit with what we've been playing. I might just start off because I haven't played much in the last week. One game has kind of taken my time up, and it's FIFA 22.
Which, I could tell because your Discord says you're currently playing.
Yes, it annoys me. Now I've linked the PlayStation up to Discord. If the PlayStation is on, it says whatever game is suspended, even if it's suspended in the background.
Yeah, the last game you were playing.
That is whatever it says I'm playing. I'm not playing FIFA 22. I'm here. Hello. Kim absolutely is not playing FIFA 22.
She is.
Yeah, she's down there ruining my season. But
if you leave, then
yeah.
Now, here's a question for you. What was this a PlayStation Plus-y thing?
It was a PlayStation Plus game, yes, which is why I've jumped into it. I've kind of, always dabbled in FIFA when someone else has had it and gone, when the days where people used to bring games over to your house and there was you played FIFA on the PlayStation, you played Pro Evolution Soccer on the Nintendo system on the N64 or whatever. Not even Pro Evolution Soccer, was it Pro Superstar? Oh shit! What did that used to be called? What did Pro Evo used to be called? Superstar Soccer, something like that. Anyway, I digress massively.
100 years ago.
Yeah, exactly. I don't think I played a FIFA game. Well, I cannot tell you what the last FIFA game was. I can't give you a number on the last FIFA game.
I guess.
Definitely wasn't FIFA 21. The last FIFA game the last FIFA
That
game
you
I can remember
played.
playing was like 2004.
Did you? Well, no, we played,
But I played
FIFA one time at Malpass's.
at Alex's house. Absolutely, that was probably like 2019 or something like that.
18,
So I've played lots of FIFA over the years, kind of at other people's places, and I've never been very good at FIFA. But I've started this managerial career in FIFA, and of course I'm managing Man United because I want them to do better in my head than they are doing in real life. So
why don't you do like a good club like Arsenal?
Oh, I could do Ajax, couldn't I? I could be the new manager of Ajax because obviously their managers, who's just won the league, is going to come over and absolutely bomb and do fuck all with these players. But I've decided to Man United, and unfortunately for me, the game.
The manager of Man United.
The game, before you even start on anything, before you even get into a game mode, and I think this is a great thing that lots of games should do, is it launched me straight into a game of football. And I'm like, cool, I'm playing, right. And I played a full game, and at the end of that, it then went, we think these settings are best for you. You are amateur. I'm like, cool, all right, fine. Yeah, absolutely. It is clever. And I'm like, cool, I'm amateur, absolutely fine. I very quickly jumped that up after a few games because I was winning like 8-0 against the computer in these season kind of games. So I jumped that up to whatever the next one is.
Is that dynamic?
It doesn't change during the game, no.
No, but like in the season you can up and down.
So during the season you can. Well, I've gone up. I haven't looked at whether I can go down or not. I would assume I can. You can't do it during a match because
No, that makes sense because then you.
I was beating Chelsea like 6-0, and I'm like, this isn't right. Chelsea are much better than this. Let's put it up. I couldn't.
But it feels so right.
Yeah, I was gonna say. I thought you were trying to relive your fantasy of.
Yeah, I was very happy that I was winning. I think I won that game like 9-0 or something. I was like, yes, brilliant. But I should put the difficulty up because it's just too easy. But it's one of those things where I'm like, great. Like first impression, they've given me this game to play. It set it suggested the difficulty I should play at. It suggested some other options to me. Amazing. This seems like a good kind of thing. And I've got into this season, and it's the only mode I've played so far. I've not played any local local competitions. I've got no one to play against. I haven't played online yet. I've not jumped into not Ultimate Teams, whatever they call that now, the card-based thing that they do as well.
Oh, is that the loot box thing?
Yeah, I've not done anything else, but it's such a shit product.
Sorry.
Because
I was not expecting that.
So it feels like they've gone, here's the best first impression for a new player. No different. And I'm like, cool, okay. And I'm playing this game. I'm like, oh, the commentator, it's not that they said the same line in even the last game. They said that 30 seconds ago on a completely different play.
In real life, though, isn't it?
That is like a lot of commentators in real life, yes. But for something of this like pedigree, I'm expecting more from it. And it's like, oh, Ronaldo at the back post. I'm like, no, that's the near post. At what point is the line to suggest that this is the back post when I'm like nowhere near that? Like it gets so much wrong.
The commentary box is on that side, so it's at the near post for them versus.
Well, maybe, but it like the The people in the stadium look fucking awful. The celebrations are bad.
I
The
remember
sound,
playing
even just the sound quality is poor.
I remember playing I think it was an early access like demo for it or something. I think they just chose like random players, and I got like an email that said you've been chosen to test FIFA
Right.
whatever because you've played a FIFA game once. It's like okay, and there were like placeholder faces on some of the players. Probably rightly so now. Like Mason Greenwood.
Oh no.
His effed up face. It was clearly like they haven't scanned his face in yet, and maybe they shouldn't have bothered for this season
Yeah.
or any season going forward. But it's just like, yeah, proper. He looked like a boomin', and it's like, so they probably just went with that build for the PS Plus.
I imagine so. Yeah, it is one of those where you're just like, this is it feels like half a product. And yes, I've not delved into X game modes that the game has to offer, but just this like core gameplay.
That's not the core gameplay. The core gameplay is loot boxes, Ben, and you haven't touched the loot boxes. You are playing the wrong part of the game. Ask
That's
EA.
true. Yeah,
They'll tell you
yes.
it'll be better if you just bought more loot boxes.
Yeah.
Oh, I'm sorry. Fun surprise mechanics. What were they? Remember what they called that? EA's terms for loot box.
That was funny.
God damn.
And it's one of those where I think I'm actually kind of enjoying.
I was right. It was called surprise mechanics. Fuck
yeah,
off.
surprise mechanics. Yeah.
I genuinely called it that.
It was what's the woman's name? Who's like not like marketing. She's like strategic comms or something like that. Yeah. But it's
strategy against whom? Oh, the consumer. That's healthy.
It's a compelling game. Like the football side of things, like the playing side of things, is nice and compelling. Like it feels good. Like to play the game feels good. But everything around that is so shit.
So you're saying the core gameplay that they've just basically repainted every year for 20 years, that part's fine?
The part that they've got down to a fucking T is good. But like the preseason that I played in like an Asian Cup, I think it was called. And basically it was Man United and maybe Juventus and a couple of other teams playing against lots of Chinese clubs and South Korean clubs and that kind of thing. And the crowd was made up of East Asian lady and East Asian man. And there's thousands of people in these stadiums. And I'm like, oh my god, why is there like 50 of this same woman? Like, and it's fucking, it's so shit.
That is so weirdly racist.
So it's incredibly racist in that sense that the avatar for that character was the same constantly. But then when you play in the Premier League and you see the same three faces sat next to each other, but they've got different coloured hair. In the Asian side, they don't even give a shit. Don't even give them different fucking coloured hair. Just keep them all the fucking same. But at least if you're playing in the Premier League, make this one black woman that we have an avatar for have brown hair or black hair. And just make sure that when they're sat next to each other, it goes brown hair, black hair, brown hair. And it's just like, fuck's sake. What EA is clearly just gone, hey, can you make some environmental art for us, which is the stadiums, it's the people in there, and they've gone, cool, I've made all of the stadiums and I've made 6 people, and they're like, fine, thank you very much, your job's gone now, could you leave please? You're done.
I mean, speaking of being done though, there is no more FIFA.
Oh, that's true. Yes. No,
because FIFA asked for $1 billion in licensing fees, and EA said, no, we like our billions.
And even with their billions, they shut down studios and think the US and Ireland or whatever.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Which is bad. But I copied and pasted a picture of
Which-
Mason Greenwood in like the beta or
Oh,
something.
it looks amazing.
I
It
can't
looks
look
so
at it.
much
I can't
like
change my screen layout because otherwise the
fair.
video will fuck up. So let me see if I can get it in the
Well, it's a little treat for afterwards.
see if I can get it. On
Which
my
was
phone.
the FIFA that had the like first player you're a hot shot star player experience? Do you remember that? Where they had like a
No.
plot and you were like just hired and you
Oh,
yeah.
because
um,
that one was given
18
for free.
about
That
probably.
is not
Oh, wow.
fucking. It's not. It won't even fucking come in. Like
Oh, hold on. I could do this.
that's some
I can
kind
do this
of
for the
fucking-
video, I think.
there we go. There he is. I mean, Mason Greenwood deserves just fucking that, but that's like some kind of Patrice Evra and Park Ji-sung fucking love child. It's not even fucking.
With Anthony Martial's.
Yeah, I mean, like.
Hold on a second. I got this.
Oh, you're in the you're in the in video broad. Oh no.
Just turn this. Look at that.
Done that on permanently.
Alright, well, wait.
I've
Yeah,
never
I-
seen
I-
a better use case for that technology until now.
Well, I'm gonna stay the rest of the
Yeah.
episode.
You
on-
sit in
on-
Old
on
Trafford
this.
there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep.
Suits you.
I like how
As
my
a
chair actually
Liverpool fan.
just cuts him out completely.
Good.
As it should.
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely.
But you know, every once in a while, I
Society.
can just do a.
You could almost pretend to. You could be the other side.
Yeah. This is why you audio listeners are missing out because this is just bad podcasting at this point.
But yes, the story mode. Yeah, I think that was
18 or
it's
19
probably
maybe.
about it was probably a few years ago. now,
Because
probably
I got
about 5
that on
years.
PS Plus, I think, and
Oh.
played a little bit of it, or maybe it was Xbox Live. Yeah, because I was living in Easton, so that was my time where I had both consoles
Mm.
before I sold my Xbox, and I think probably if you didn't have that one, then I got it on Xbox Live.
Yeah.
And that was the first time in a long time where I felt like innovation occurred. It was fine. Like I
yeah.
actually I liked, and it was like fully voice acted, and there was some. It was very RPG, and you can choose how you interact with people, and like whether you're the nice guy on the team or the hotshot arrogant guy. But really, you just wanted to like skip all that shit because I wanted to play a soccer game.
Mm.
Oh God, I said soccer.
Get out of the country, you boy. But I mean, the funniest one is the NBA 2K story mode, which if you haven't seen,
The
you might
Spike
have
Lee
to
one.
watch.
Oh yeah, I remember Spike Lee directed that.
You might.
Quote unquote. I think he was asked 4 questions about it, and they're like, Spike Lee was part of the design
Yeah.
process of this.
I don't know which one it was, but
I think it must have
hold
been the
on.
same year. No, I think that might have
No, I
been the
think it
year
was
before,
previous.
or no, it's
Yeah.
the year after.
NBA 2K15.
Was it 15?
No, not the Spike Lee one. There's
Oh.
just a
Oh.
compilation of awful voice acting from the actual, NBA players, and it's like, it's even worse when they're trying.
Yeah.
Oh God, yeah.
It's actually even
Yeah,
worse.
It would have been so much better if they'd have just taken stock footage of interviews with them and just put that in,
Pasted
and
it in, yeah.
absolutely, and made the computer the model just go.
It's because of corporate greed, right? Like they wanted to get more people, so they're like, oh, we'll be more cinematic. We'll have RPG elements because then maybe non-sports game people. No, all you did is piss off the sports game people. Like, what is all this faff? Is this FAFFA 2018 or FIFA 2018? Give me the goddamn football, right? Like, it's so like obviously trying to grab market share where you like, it's not a good
Yeah.
idea.
Apparently, like there's like Abby from Giant Bomb said the NFL story mode was actually genuinely good. So who knows?
Yeah.
Within the Madden games. Strangely enough, I've always the Madden games that I played since like 2001, maybe 2000. The story mode has always been pretty good, and I think actually the FIFA 2022, when you're playing as a manager, the level that you get now is the same as you got with Madden 2001. Non-voice acted, kind of like questions that repeat every 2 or 3 games. And you're like, when it's 2001, you're like, someone's asking me a question. I have to answer this. This has some kind of impact upon team morale. And now FIFA 2022 is doing it, and they're like, this has some kind of impact on team morale. You're like, oh, again, for fuck's sake. Come on, this is like 20 years later. How is something that happened in another EA-owned franchise just not proliferated into that game? You know, even the next year, let alone 20 fucking years later. And it takes me back to my original point. FIFA 2022, shoddy fucking product.
I mean, it must be so hard to iterate though when like their, development schedule is like 9 months and they just churn.
I mean, except that like a lot of this is just a database updating stats and new pictures of people, which I'm not saying is not, like, I don't know. So my guess is because it's so iterative, they have a very small team given how much that team makes, because corporations are really good at being like, oh, this is our big cash cow, but if we could probably get away with a third of what actually is needed to make this a good product because it's a cash cow, we'll just run these people to the bone. But like, if you aren't to iterate year on year, in one sense 9-month development cycle sucks, but actually if you were trying to design a product with longevity, you would have like a plan of how here it is today, and people won't accept what it is today in 5 years because it'll be stale. So what are the iterative steps we can start taking such that in 5 years it's interesting, but it doesn't, we can protect our golden egg by only doing small steps in the middle. But that would require planning / wanting to do something for the sake of making it better versus wanting to do something for the sake of making sure people pay you.
That's why, like, I mean, I thought like Pro Evo was before Konami ran it into the ground, or probably not even did that. It probably just wasn't.
No, it just wasn't a
big as
pachinko machine.
So yes. Unlike FIFA is,
I mean,
which is ironic, but that was the better football game for quite a few.
It was
few years.
Yeah.
I just thought the tech was better, but
and that's the game that I played football wise, Pro Evo, from like the early 2010s, like maybe 2013, 2014.
Good,
That's the one that I played.
Which is it's a shame that there's just like only one football game now, and it's not good.
Well, so
there are good things about it, but like a lot of it is just in service of the FIFA Ultimate Team, which is a shame.
So I think this is almost in part a good thing that EA and FIFA are no longer going to be partners, because FIFA will probably want to find someone. Yeah,
I think they're just going to ask Sepp Blatter to make it.
Aadil's mate there is going to make the next FIFA game. No, someone like FIFA are going to try and find someone, right? I would imagine they'll try and tout this out, and I don't think Konami, with now that they've turned Pro Evo into this like platform, rather than it being like an every year kind of game, they've very much gone down the route of being like, this is now free to pay. You can just get the every season update potentially, depending on what they do next season, because it's a very poor state, that product. But that
So,
FIFA are going to be
speaking of
like
shoddy.
someone. We want someone to make this game, and we've seen this with like EA and then 2K and the basketball games and all of these kinds of things with like the changing of hands between different companies and stuff. So you would hope that we would get maybe another player in the football space that would come in and make a very high product game, which might have the FIFA trademark and all the branding and player names and clubs and all of this sort of stuff. But then also EA going, well, we need to do something. So let's iterate in this kind of. Let's actually put some fucking money. Now we've saved our $1 billion. We can we can even just $1 million, just $1 million. We can put extra into this. $10 million we can put extra into this. $20 million we can put extra into this to just do something else. So you'd hope that little bit of a divergence of what's going on currently and what has been for the last 20 years might just push a little bit of innovation. And it isn't going to be like Sensible Soccer suddenly has all of the FIFA stuff and they come out with a fucking AAA football game. It's not going to be This Is Football revived from whenever that died in 2005 or something like that. It's going to be, I think, probably someone like 2K. One of the big players will go, cool, we can now partner with FIFA. I mean, it might not be 2023. It might be in 2024 instead. There's a year kind of gap missing, but suddenly there's that third football game, which is at the same, if not slightly better level than what EA and what Konami are putting out at the moment.
This is actually the advantage of someone like seeing that writing on the wall and moving forward, because they get to start from scratch, and in some ways FIFA's trapped by its own engine. Although I know they went to, like, again, the same time as they went to Frostbite around the same time they did all that narrative garbage, which was obviously an overhaul, but I guarantee you it was much more of a translation job of like, here's how our system works here, paying people to just move it over, versus how do we make football work, because people want to know, they want improvements, but actually what I want to do is know that my same muscle memory for pass do a one-touch shot is going to basically be the same. I don't want you to change the mechanics, but if you were a new entrant, you could be like, oh, actually, we could just do this crazy thing, in the same way that like triggers being attack is now very standard, in a way that like 10 years ago, 5 years ago, it wasn't in like action games, because it turns out it's much more fluid, and once a couple games proved that, everyone else cottoned on to it. But we don't have the same breadth of sports games to like have that. But you want someone to innovate in that space to do something interesting, right?
Yeah, absolutely. It's always one of those things that I think all of these sports games kind of went through their renaissance in the early 2000s, where you had very competitive game companies making different entries.
Market share was split.
And now it's so monopolized in that sort of sense. Like, it's FIFA. Some people play a bit of PES, but it's NBA 2K now, and there isn't another game for that. It's Madden, made by EA. There isn't any other. NCAA doesn't kind of exist anymore. The amount of wrestling games, even fucking wrestling, the amount of wrestling games that came out in those mid 2000s, like Backyard Wrestling, the WWE games, like the WCW games, like tons of them, all coming out from different developers, different publishers and stuff.
And like ones that had no relation to any property.
Absolutely. And it has just died a death, because obviously games are very ridiculously expensive to make. So if suddenly you need to have the names and the brands of things, that it is so out of the realm of possibility for 99% of developers and publishers, that is only down to the shitty fucking EAs or Ubisofts or fucking Activisions, like all of these shit companies who don't have shit employees. Lots of their employees, 99% of their employees are probably lovely humans who work their jobs and absolutely love
And
it.
then get fired because it's easier to rehire them afterwards.
Yes, absolutely. And it's the people making these decisions that are like, hey, we made $1 billion. Let's just make $1.2 because we can just do this and then cut all of this shit. Like, let's not get into corporate greed and all of that sort of stuff, but fuck CEOs of massive fucking corporations. Aadil, I feel like I jumped in and said, hey, let me just mention this, and we've just spent an hour talking about
it's totally fine. I played an early access game, so I could talk very briefly about it.
You've got,
if you want,
30 seconds, or leave it to next week, and we'll lead on the episode with your games next week, because I'm not going to get any time to play new fucking games. I'll probably play a bit more FIFA and just stuff, so I'll just defer.
That's fine then.
My time.
The
honourable gentleman. I defer to the honourable gentleman. Next week, obviously. So that's probably I think FIFA has turned into our topic for this week. If anyone else is playing FIFA and they want to play some multiplayer games, maybe shoot me your username over on the PlayStation 4. I don't know if PlayStation 4, PlayStation 5 talk to each other. I don't know if FIFA is a cross or multi-platform. It's a multi-platform game. There's a cross-platform game. I don't know if I can play with anybody else on stuff.
I assume
probably not. Yeah.
No,
but give me a shout if you want to play some FIFA. We could get a little game going. You can see how poor I am.
I think this game is shit. Hey, random stranger to the internet, want to play this shit game with me?
The only thing I find fun on FIFA is
it is crossplay is available apparently.
Oh wow.
For PS5, Xbox Series X, and Stadia players only. You didn't get it. You should have bought it on your fucking Stadia, Ben. You could have played with Xbox Series X.
Oh dear.
How is Stadia and FIFA 22 in the same sentence? What the fuck is wrong with this world?
I don't know. But yeah, Pro Clubs is genuinely fun where, like, 8 people can get together and just be on the team.
My best FIFA memory is playing in 2005 at my buddy Colin's house, where him and his partner, he had a gaming PC, his partner had his old gaming PC for her work, but they had a shared office, so we just played FIFA on the LAN.
Nice.
But it was 2005, so it was with the keyboard.
Was that the Ronaldinho?
And let me tell you,
FIFA on a keyboard.
FIFA on a keyboard ain't great.
No,
I could never master shooting at all. Like, I just couldn't get it well. I could, but the game was old enough that you could just do stupid shit. Like, for example, you could just tackle a goalie and then get a red card. That's fine. You can do that. It's fine. Now you don't. Now the game don't let you do it. It's like, give me freedom. You know, if I want to get a red card by sliding into the goalie, I should be able to get a red card by sliding into the goalie. Give me autonomous player. So then it ended up always degrading into how violent could I be without quite losing for loss of players? And sometimes I'd win, but mostly I didn't. But also, don't play FIFA on a keyboard, kids.
No. Oh, these covers take me back. Remember when football was good?
Yeah. I remember the 2000 or maybe it was the 2000 or 2001, 2002 cover with Paul Scholes on, where the PlayStation disc was a scratch and sniff disc, and you scratched it and it was meant to smell like cut
footballers'
grass.
balls.
Yeah, that's it. Sweat, just pure sweat. It was meant to smell like cut grass.
What?
Who knows if that?
But also
worked.
Oh my god! Like the medium is a label on a metallic layer that has all the data. You don't want to force people to scratch at it. What the fuck? Who came up with this?
The other side.
No, but the disc.
Yes.
Yeah. So it's a thick layer of plastic then a metallic layer, and then a label.
Oh
If
yes,
you
yeah,
scratch
scratch
over the
Yes,
label,
yeah.
then you could easily scratch through and into the there's less protection on the label side, ironically, than the data side because
Oh.
because it's like a disc of plastic, and then the data is the aluminum layers there, and then the label's put on top. So the plastic is this thick, and the label is this thick. It's much easier to scratch a disc from the top, which if you've ever when you burn CDs because they were like produced with very little label, that's how you could literally just take a key and cut a line and you could see through, because it was the same layer applied. It was like we have a metallic layer that's sharpieable on the one side and data on the other side. Anyway, what would but why would you encourage people to scratch a disc? Is my point, especially for cut grass.
Because it's EA, mate. Your disc doesn't work anymore. Buy a new one.
I do miss it's in the game. I will say that.
Oh, yeah,
It's in the game.
It doesn't pop up saying that when I.
No, it's not said that for
thing.
years.
Is this real or is this a joke?
What?
Where the Irish edition of FIFA 09 had Richard Dunn on,
Really?
on the cover next to. It's got to be a joke. It's got to be.
Oh
like
no,
a
no! There was one edition of FIFA, and potentially 09, where they made the cover star more localized. So they were like, we've got either it's either Ronaldo or someone else who was big at the time, and they're like, and they will be next to localized famous player number 1.
Localized.
I thought it was a Photoshop. I thought it was a meme.
No, that's real. That's
genuinely Richard Dunn on the cover of a FIFA. Oh no!
It's a good place for us to finish for this evening. Let's jump back into our beers. I've got a tiny bit of my beer left. I'm gonna drink it now.
Wasn't Robbie Keane still playing?
You would imagine that Robbie Keane would probably have been the 2009 player. Yes.
Oh my god.
I really like this beer from Arbor, Space
Space
Hardware.
Yeah.
I really like it. It's a nice New England IPA. It sits very well. It's a little bit hazy. It's a little bit bitter. It's got lovely fruit flavors. As I said, it's a little bit muddled in its initial kind of hit, that you can't pick out exactly what's kind of going on. But that's fine, because that muddled flavor all sits very well, and it's a nice flavor. So it doesn't.
I would say blended more than muddled for that Arbor, because mine is the same, where it's like I can't individually pick things out, but it's not like things have all been it's not like a slosh bucket. It's just like there aren't things peaking at different points. It's just presented for full taste.
Yeah. Here is everything.
Yeah.
Take this now, rather than it being a flow through it. Whilst you've mentioned it, Aadil, do you have any further thoughts on your beer?
No, I mean, I really like this beer. It's gone by. I've actually, fake green screen. It's just like, no, this is football. No,
Can't have beer in the stadium anymore. It's fine. It's taken out.
It's really good. It's that 6.5. I am feeling a little more.
Okay.
I will say I see why it's like your mainstay Arbor right now. It's crisp. It doesn't have a super long finish, but just long enough to give you, and it finishes with that light bit of bitter and that bit of a bit of tangerine sweetness. It's really tasty.
What was that accent from suddenly? That bitter.
Oh, I have no
idea.
idea.
Just launched into an Australian accent for some reason.
Didn't even notice.
I like it. Do it more. But
okay. Duly noted.
Yeah. Lucy, how about your beer?
Sorry, just looking at all these horrendous.
Lucy's just in a like cover art of FIFA games wiki hole.
Yeah, with Jack Wilshere on FIFA 2012. It's not as bad anymore.
Yeah.
That's when I first sipped on it, but.
I mean, that says a lot.
It's just not what I expect from Cloudwater.
Mm.
Maybe my palate became acclimated to it, and it's a bit less jarring now. But yeah, not great, not great. Wouldn't recommend.
Yeah, that's fair. Have you?
It's probably on level of seeing Rich Dunn. That's how I feel about this bit. It's
You
the
walk
Richard
into the
Dunn
you walk
bit.
into the supermarket and you're like, oh,
Yeah,
okay,
that'll do.
yeah, fine.
It's wide enough to stand in front of goal to stop the ball from going in. That'll do. Yeah.
He's no, I mean, either the Roy or Robbie Keane. No, I get no relation, I assume, between the two of them. But yeah,
Yeah.
It'd be interesting to see what you feel about the other Cloudwater beers in the supermarket. And you know, that could just be hey, I'm not drinking it on the episode, but I had them at the weekend and don't touch them. Versus, no, this one is okay. So yeah, it'd be interesting to see what you feel about the other ones if you get the chance to go back to the Tesco, and they have them, I suppose, is part of it as well. Like whether the beers are actually there to pick up. Friends, if you've played FIFA, if you want to chat to us about the sports game of choice or whatever beers you're drinking, supermarket, bottle shop, from the brewery direct or otherwise, you can do so in lots of different ways. We are at Tanked Up Cast on most of the socials. You can go to outoflives.net to chat to us as well, or come to our Discord, and one of us can send you a link for that to talk to us directly each and every day if you really want to. I'm at Nova_47. Aadil is
at the Omniarch,
and Lucy is
Juicy Loose 9.
And as I say, go to outoflives.net, comment on the posts, go to the YouTube channels, which is Out of Lives.net, and subscribe, like, comment, let us know what you think.
YouTube listeners, viewers, whatever you want to call yourselves. Tell us your favorite FIFA year. What was the pristine FIFA game? And if you're not on YouTube, tweet it.
Yeah. Or you can just come and chat to us on the Twitch channel as well, Out of Lives Network over on Twitch, and come and see us and chat to us live as we're recording the episodes. It always helps if you go to your podcast service of choice as well and like and comment, potentially dependent on your podcast service, on rate and review us. It always helps spread the conversation and spread us to more people, which is always appreciated. If you as well are going to the Bristol Craft Beer Festival, which is in 2 or 3 weeks' time, we will be there, so let us know and we can hang out and have a beer. We'll shout that out next week as well, potentially, and talk about it a little bit more, maybe, as our not necessarily topic, but we might have a little chat about what we're expecting, what we'd like to see, and things like that. So expect a little bit more of a beery chat.
I'd like to see these two handle their drink a bit better.
No, fuck that.
That's never gonna happen.
Free beers.
It's never gonna happen. Not to your standards. Sorry, you will always be the one to drink us under the table.
Mate, I'm drunk in the queue, so it's it's fine.
You're drunk off the excitement.
Exactly. Asleep in the middle of the day. I'm done. That's good.
Let's go with that.
Perfect. Thank you, everybody, for joining us this week. As always, we have been tagged up. We will catch you soon. Goodbye.
Bye.
Ciao.
Why did you put your
It's in the game.
Why did you put your hands over your mouth when you said ciao? Oh no.
Well, I was gonna go, it's in the game. And then it's like, oh, I should say ciao. And then I was like, nah, I should have said it's in the game. It's because the EA Sports thing is EA Sports. Like, it's a muffled. It's not EA Sports. EA Sports. It's in the game.
www.outoflives.net